Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that'll help you become your best self. And today we are talking about how are you doing? 5 tips on how to check in with yourself. But before we jump into that, as always, I want to say that you should come say hi to me on socials. I am at Sabrina Joy Perozzo on both TikTok and Instagram. So please come say hi to me. Say hey in the DMs. I know on TikTok you can't really DM unless you're friends. So maybe come like a post on like a video and say hey and like all that kind of stuff. So come say hi to me. And then check in the show notes below how to spell my name if you need trouble figuring that out to see me on socials. And then also you can sign up for the newsletter that goes out every Wednesday evening around 6 or 7 p.m. PST. It did not go out this week, but it will go out next week. So it's going to be a doozy. I'm trying to figure out how to change the newsletter so it's better. Changes probably won't take effect until January, but still, I want it to be better, not this boring thing that you get in your inbox every week that you're just like, blah. And so check that out. Also, pick up your copy of Emotions Every Day, the planner journal hybrid that I created a couple months ago. That would be a great gift for someone. I still have gift boxes and, or like nice boxes rather, and stickers and everything to add in to the pack. So if you want to buy a copy of that for $32 and then like small shipping fee, and get that shipped out to you right away if you want to give it as a gift. Also check, what was the other thing I always want to talk about? I always want to share it with you is, so topics. I would love for you guys to suggest topics for the show. And down there is a survey that you can submit a topic suggestion for the show anonymously. So I will not know it's you, but you'll be able to suggest the topic and then I can hopefully talk about it sometime in the near future. Also, something that I'm going to start talking more about on my TikTok is taking like questions, so like random questions, and hopefully compile a bunch of questions that I can answer here on the show. Maybe do like, 5 to 7 questions for one episode and then do more in the future if more people have just random questions, and you can submit them so I don't know who you are, again, anonymously, if you'd like to do that. So that's something I'm going to start asking for on my TikToks. If you want to participate in that, you can hop over there and submit that. But check out everything else that's in the show notes below, but let's go ahead and just jump right into today's episode, which again is how are you doing? 5 tips on how to check in with yourself. So the awkward answer you sometimes give or even receive when you greet someone, there is like the question of, how are you? And a lot of times we respond with something menial like, I'm good, I'm fine, or like whatever else that's like really subpar. A very classic answer that you would give when someone's like, how are you? And you're like, I'm good, I'm fine, it's whatever. And sometimes we mean those things, and oftentimes we don't. So if you saw someone or you saw me and you're like, hi, how are you doing? And I'd be like, oh, I'm good. And like, I would say there's a lot of times where I mean that. I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. I don't have anything to complain about. I'm feeling great. Today was like a fine day, no issues. But then there could be times where I'm going to like, I'm fine, or I'm okay. And there's like really no expounding on that. It's just like, that is the answer. But so outside of like those things, there's also this awkward response of having like a pause, like right before that response comes out with whatever standard answer that I've already like mentioned or other ones. And so it's like, you're like, hey, how are you? And the other person's like, I'm good, right? And so you know something's off because there's like that pause and they had to actually think about it and then they give you an answer, or they actually start going into what's actually going on in their life, or you actually start going into like what's going on before you actually like just stop and you catch yourself, because it's not customary to always like tell the truth when someone asks that question. Like I feel like that's like an unwritten rule somewhere, at least here in the US. Someone asks you, like, how are you doing? And you're supposed to say, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm okay. Thank you for asking, how are you, right? And then they might say the same thing. Some people are more ballsy and they'll tell you exactly what's going on. But more often than not, people are like, I'm good, right? And, it's interesting because I've been told, I don't know how long ago, maybe a couple years ago, that in other countries that are not the United States, when people ask you that, like when people are like, see you out and about on the street and they're like, how are you? That, you're supposed to be, when people ask you that question, you're supposed to be truthful with your answer and that only Americans lie because we think it would be like an inconvenience to actually truthfully care about what someone is feeling and like what they're going through, and that we don't have time for that. And it's kind of like rude to bring up your problems in front of other people unless they've specifically asked for you to share them. Like, oh, it's so a lot. It's a lot. And that's so interesting. And, I'm not saying that everyone feels this way. It's just a generalization, but that, yeah, a lot of times when we ask people how they are, we don't really mean it. We don't mean it. And I've been told that in other countries, they actually mean it. And after I heard this, I'm still not sure if it's completely true or not because I've not been to any countries really at all. I've been to Cambodia and no, that's it. That's it. And I've been to Mexico. Okay, great. And then America, because that's where I live. But yeah, so I don't know the answer of whether that's true or not. It doesn't really actually matter to me whether it's true or not because I decided that, if it, like after hearing that, I decided that if it wasn't disruptive to like the interaction that I was having, I would be honest with how I'm feeling. I just decided that because I was like, wow, that is so interesting, but also not cool, right? And, I'm like the queen of like, let's be our true selves. Let's really bathe in authenticity and vulnerability and be who we are. And I was just like, yeah, we have to be real. We have to be real, even when it feels so incredibly uncomfortable, right? So, if it was a hard day, I would say it's a hard day, right? Someone's like, how are you? Oh, it's a hard day, but it's going to be okay, right? And if it was like a boring day, I would admit that too. I'd be like, oh yeah, it was a boring day. Not a lot went on. Whatever way that my day would go, I want to be as honest as possible, and I encourage you guys to be like that too. But with me being honest and also thinking about how other people might not see it as being honest, but as actually being like an inconvenience, I would end like saying like whatever truthful statement was like, oh, it's a boring day or it's a hard day. I would end it with saying that I believe it will get better or look forward to a new day tomorrow. So they'd be like, how are you? And I'd be like, yeah, it was a really tough day. It was a really tough day. And maybe I'd add in, depending on like how much time I think I had and who I was talking to, be like, yeah, it was a really tough day. I had to go through this and this, but it's going to get better. I know today's going to get better. Or it would be like, but tomorrow's a new day and I'm looking forward to that and it's okay. And this isn't going to like ruin my whole week, right? And so it's demonstrating that you don't have to allow these hard things that we're going through to dominate your whole day and your whole week and to jack everything up and mess everything up just because you're having hard times. And it also demonstrates that you can be vulnerable enough to share that with someone else while also like applying like a silver lining of like, but it's going to be okay. Tomorrow will be a better day, or the rest of the day will get better, or whatever it is, or I'm looking forward to this. So I know that I'm just not going to put all my focus on this issue right now because it doesn't need it. And I need to just focus towards the future so I can move on from like whatever problem, issue, struggle is going on, right? And I think that's like the best way to do it is to be honest about how you're feeling, but then also know that it could get better. And if it doesn't get better, if it just like stays pretty mild and neutral, hey, that's better than getting worse. So let's just consider that. But I want to ask you, honestly, like truthfully, voice to voice, voice to face, voice to ear, whatever. I want to ask you, and I want you to answer honestly, right? Which I know that you can do because I won't actually hear your response. So you can be honest. You have no excuse for why you can't. But I want to ask you, how are you doing right now? How are you doing right now? What would you say? What should you say? What should you admit? What should you tell me? But I won't hear it because it's a podcast. But what's going on, right? How are you truly feeling with like whatever is happening in your life? Are you struggling with one of like wanting to like feel one way about something happening in your life or everything happening in your life, but actually are feeling like another thing? You're battling these emotions. It's kind of something I talked about with my therapist today. It's like you feel one way, but you want to feel another way. It's tough, right? Maybe you haven't taken the time to recently ask yourself this question of how am I? How am I doing? So you aren't exactly sure how you're feeling because you haven't asked yourself this question. And that's fair, right? That's fair. But if that is the case, if you haven't taken the time, or maybe any other example I've given or not even mentioned yet, that's fine because there's so many. This is the whole reason I wanted to chat about this today. This is the whole reason I talk about how are you doing? And to be honest with you, I was thinking earlier today as I got back from picking my daughter up from gym that I was like, what am I going to talk about today that would actually be meaningful and helpful during this time of year, but also during any part of the year, because not everyone's going to listen to this podcast right now. They might listen to it 6 months from now, right? If that's you, then hey, awesome. I want it to apply, and I want it to apply to everyday life. And I know that, I talk about all kinds of different topics here that's going to help us grow mentally and emotionally. But I wanted something that was going to be very direct, kind of simple in nature, but important, very impactful. And then all of a sudden, I was reading something and it was well, how are you doing? And I was like, oh my gosh, when is the last time that I've actually asked myself that question? I ask people that question all of the time. How are you doing? And I genuinely mean it. I'm like, tell me what's going on. And a short form answer if I'm, at the counter ordering coffee, we don't have that much time together, but still I care. I truly care. And then I was like, wow, but I'm sure everyone else feels the same. Well, a lot of people, maybe not everyone, that they don't know how they're feeling because they haven't asked themselves that question. Maybe you've not even thought to ask yourself that question. So, I wanted to chat about it. I was like, oh, this should be helpful. And I surely hope it is. I truly hope it is. So let's chat about some good ways for you to check in with yourself and know how you're feeling so you know what needs to change and what you should do next. You know what I mean? Because if you know if something needs to change or something needs to be reworked, then you'll know what you need to do next to implement those changes and progress forward, right? So I have 5 good ways for you to check in with yourself. Before I jump into the list, as always, this is this advice and these tips are all based on my own knowledge and research and the experiences I've had and the experiences of others I'm allowed to share. And it's totally fine if you don't feel like this list of tips and advice aligns with you. I encourage you to seek out a counselor or a therapist and have that one-on-one time to really figure out what would actually align with you best to evaluate how you can best check in with yourself. If you don't want to do that and you still don't like what I have to say, please go to your best friend, our best friend, everyone's best friend, Google, and type in how to check in with yourself. And you'll get so many articles and lists and everything you need to kind of make your own informed decision, right? And you can still make a informed decision by listening to me and deciding if those things are going to work for you. But I would encourage you to at least listen and maybe do some research before you fully decide that it's not going to work for you. But, do what you're going to do. Okay, list of 5. Let's go. Number one, determine if you are avoiding or suppressing emotions. Determine if you're avoiding or suppressing emotions. I think it's so important for you to do this and probably do it first, because how will you be able to determine how you are and how you're feeling if you haven't admitted to yourself that you have been suppressing or avoiding, honoring and accepting and feeling certain emotions, right? Maybe you feel like you have so much going on within your life that you don't have time to grieve the loss of someone or something. Maybe you lost your job, maybe you lost a parent, maybe you lost a friend, or whatever it is, right? Whatever tragedy happened. And you just kind of swept under the rug because you're like, there's so many other things I have to do right now. I have to take care of my family, or I have to take care of this, that, and the other. And so you did not acknowledge it. You didn't honor it. And you have to admit that to yourself. What have you been avoiding or suppressing, right? And it will if you're still I don't know, you can ask yourself, did something happen recently that had you all in your feels where, maybe you broke up with your partner and that was just like so sad, but you kind of swept the sadness under the rug because you decided to pour yourself into work or into helping others or learning like a new skill because you just didn't want to deal with it. So to properly check in with yourself, it's great for you to determine if you are avoiding or suppressing any emotions and what maybe has gotten you in your feels lately, and to allow those emotions to come free, be acknowledged, be accepted, be honored, and dealt with so that you can move on while fully honoring everything that you are going through so it doesn't like come out in like some sort of volcanic explosion sometime down the road. Okay? So determine if you're avoiding or suppressing any emotions. Number 2, decide if there is anything you need to cut out of your life that is causing issues or just isn't right for this season. I was very excited, to be honest, when I came up with the line, just isn't right for this season. Because there can be a lot of times where you do cut something out of your life, you decide this is not going to work, this is causing issues and trouble, but it's only for a season. Because next season, that thing might work wonders in your life, but right now it's wreaking havoc. It's doing the opposite, right? And so it's just good to know that when you do have to cut things out or get rid of things, it's not going to be forever, always. Sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. And we can't necessarily know exactly how long it'll be until it returns. We can maybe give ourselves an idea and then just work through it. So decide if there is anything you need to cut out of your life that is causing issues. So maybe it's like certain people that you're spending time with. You become who you hang out with. If you're becoming like really negative and never really thinking about the positive, always like putting things off and what else? Maybe dragging other people down, never being able to reflect on gratitude, and you're hanging out with people that are, modeling this same kind of mindset and behavior, then you might need to cut them out of your life. You might need to take a break, right, from those people and be like, okay, maybe I shouldn't hang out with them as much and just see how I feel. Do I feel relieved? Do I feel like I'm finally breathing the air around me now? Do you feel better? And maybe there's other things you need to cut out of your life. It could be not just friends. Maybe it could be family members that are really racking up the drama. And it could even be like a bad habit. So maybe you finally come to terms with, okay, I really need to stop smoking if I want to, have a healthy pregnancy, or I really need to start, being on top of like what I eat during the day because it's really wreaking havoc inside me on my body and I'm not feeling very good. And it's very like overwhelming and I just don't know what to do. And I need to like kind of like stop really, dragging my body down by eating these certain things, right? And so really just considering like what you need to get rid of in your life. It could be so many things. It could be like a physical thing. Maybe, you end up pouring so much money into fixing your car all the time that actually you'd be better suited to just buy a new car or like lease a car or do something. You know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at. So decide. Like a really good way for you to check in is to decide if there is anything you need to cut out of your life that is causing issues or just isn't right for right now. And it might be right for later. And you'll just have to reevaluate when when you're able to come to like really reconsidering it again, because you just don't know. You just have to like, you know what I mean? I'm trying to find like the best way to say that, and like that didn't come across very clearly. Obviously, you need to really just decide if you want to take a break, and then you can just reevaluate the situation. Maybe like 3-6 months later, and that feels like a long time, but that time will just go by in a snap. So decide if there's anything you need to cut out of your life that's causing issues or just isn't right for this season. Number 3, review how you have been taking care of yourself physically and decide like what needs to change. This is a very broad suggestion, piece of advice for you, but it's really helpful because when you check in with yourself, you're not just checking in with like your mindset and your emotions and your mental health and that. You need to also check in with your body, okay? And that's actually happening to me. Like whatever day long in the future, and by long I probably mean like a month maybe, When you see this video of this podcast episode, if you decide to take a peek, you know I'm moving all around the place because my body is so much pain. My back, I'm having intense back pain. And it's because I didn't do the due diligence of checking in with my body. I do often check in with my mind and my emotions, but my body, I didn't check in. And now I feel like I'm paying the price because I'm in so much pain because I didn't take care of it. I didn't do stretching. I didn't do what my chiropractor said. I'm just like all over hot mess. So it's important that we do review how we're taking care of our bodies physically and decide what needs to change. So maybe you need to change your sleeping habits. Maybe staying up till this whatever time you're staying up to is not helping. It's actually hurting you. Maybe the way that you're configuring like all 20 pillows in your bed is just not working out. Maybe pets on the bed is not working out, or maybe you do need your pet on your bed and you feel more comfortable, more secure. Whatever, like really examine those sleeping habits, examine like exercise and whatever way that you like to exercise. I personally like to do cardio and weights, and maybe I need to learn how to make time to stretch. And that's part of my issues is like not stretching after doing like the Peloton and thinking, oh, it's going to be fine when I'm in so much pain. So like reevaluating, like, is the exercise routine, the things that you're doing, is that helping you like reach your goals? Is that helping you, prevent injury that's happened in the past, or are you actually still even enjoying it, right? Reevaluate eating habits. Like, are you eating the things that are good for you? Are you eating the things that align with your goals? Are you eating things like me that are just ruining your body, but you lack the self-control to let those things go because they taste so good, but you're also in a lot of pain on the inside. You know what I mean? Maybe you're not getting outside to get any sort of like breaks or vitamin D, sunshine. Just really kind of consider like, how are you taking care of your body? Are you doing a good enough job for like your goals and what you need for your life to feel your best? Really evaluate what that means to you, and check in and see if you need to do more or less, something else. Enlist help, ask for help, and figure out what you need to do. Okay. Number 4, create a list of things you have felt proud of in the last week. Create a list of things you have felt proud of in the last week. Checking in with yourself can definitely include you having this like, I don't know, mini little highlight session where you're like, I'm really proud that I did this, that, and the other, right? It can be small things, big things, medium-sized things. It doesn't have to be like, I'm so proud of myself that I was able to, get a promotion or lose 10 pounds or whatever, right? You can literally be proud that you were able to get up in a room full of people and give a presentation without shaking, if that was an issue for you, or stuttering along, like you're just so nervous, right? Or maybe you're super proud that for once you were able to get to work on time because maybe you struggle with time management. That's a real thing, right? It's a real thing. Or maybe you're really proud of yourself that, this is why I was proud of myself this week, for sure. And it can be more than one thing. It should be, like I said, create a list. But something I could definitely name that I'm proud of myself this week is that I didn't follow in my previous pattern of feeling like things are overwhelming and too much, and like it doesn't feel like anything is making a difference, all the hard work I'm putting into something. And I'm proud of myself for not quitting, because in the past there's been times where I would just go after something and push and push and push, and then it just feels like it's all for nothing, and I would give up. This time I did not give up, and I'm very proud of myself for that this week. So just make a list of things that you are proud of. Like maybe you're proud that you didn't yell as much at your family this week. That's, you're getting like that kind of reaction of your emotions in control. So make that list of things, small, big, medium-sized things, things you felt proud about. Maybe keep a running list. So every time you check in with yourself, which I would hope would be at least weekly. If you want to do it daily, that's cool. But I would say at least do it weekly. And then you'll be able to compare and contrast from the weeks prior and see what changes and see what reoccurs, as things that you are proud of. Okay. So create a list of things you felt proud of in the last week. And number 5, we are coming up on our last one. And, this episode's probably going to not be, leaning towards 40 minutes this time. But I don't think that every episode has to be long for it to be good, right? So number 5, think about what you can do. Think about what you can do to create happiness in your life, and Determine if you need to be doing more of that or need to make any changes. Okay, I think I read my own piece of advice wrong. Okay, think about what you do to create happiness in your life, like what you already do, and determine if you need to do more of that or need to make any changes. So, as you know, or if you don't know, you create your own happiness. Only you are in charge of your happiness. Only you, only you, only you. I know you might be yelling back. No, only you. It's only you. I promise you. With every ounce of everything in my body, times 10, it's only you. Okay? If you are trying to project that responsibility onto someone else, that is victim mentality, and you are avoiding the responsibility and the burden that comes with having to take care of yourself. You can't be like, oh no, my spouse is supposed to make me happy, my kids are supposed to make me happy, my job, all the money in my bank account, new opportunities. No. The world? No. Friends? No. No, you. It's just you. For me, it's just me. And you have to think about what are you doing to create happiness in your life, right? Do you like to play games, like video games? I used to play them a lot on the Nintendo Switch. I haven't so much anymore because I just have so many things to do, but I really do want to make time for that, as well as reading fiction books. I used to read so many adult romance books and I loved it. It was good times. And I don't do that as much anymore. I've just thrown myself into the house chores and really trying to build up my business and take care of my family and do all holiday things and activities for my daughter. And these are all important things and things I'm enjoying doing as well. But there's a certain subset of things that truly, bring you happiness more than you just being happy and grateful to do things you have to do, right? Like organize the house. I have to do that. I do find joy in it, but it's not the kind of joy I would feel when I'm sitting. I have 30 minutes to sit down and just read a book. It feels so good. So think about what you do to create happiness and determine if you need to be doing more of that or you need to make any changes. And for me, just right now, talking to you, I think the change I need to make is to make time to either read for 30 minutes or play the Nintendo Switch for 30 minutes so I can reacclimate myself to doing little fun things and not always work, hustle. You know what I mean? And there's definitely seasons of life where we have less fun and more hustle, but we still need to find the best balance we can find in that season of life. You know what I mean? So just think about it. What else, what brings you happiness? Is it maybe you like to swim and where you live, you can swim outside all year round? Definitely not here. Definitely not here in Washington. Also, what else? Watching movies. Maybe you really like to watch movies. Maybe that's your big thing. Okay? Maybe it's maybe working out is the thing that creates happiness for you because you just like to feel good. So you go on runs and stuff like that. Whatever it is, think about it and determine if you need to be doing more because you need more happiness. Maybe you need more happiness during this season of life than you would in the last, and then that you will in the next. Think about that and then see what changes need to be made. But please try all 5 of those tips and pieces of advice for ways to check in with yourself so that you can actually ask yourself, how are you doing? And you have an actual answer. And maybe you can share this with someone else that struggles with identifying, how they're doing. Because if you ask yourself how you're doing and you're able to actually clearly identify, oh, I'm feeling anxious because of this. I'm feeling really angry because of this. I'm feeling upset, really sad, frustrated, confused. Then you're on the right track to really being oh, okay, I can actually determine how I'm feeling. Now we can figure out what needs to happen next to, become my best self and figure out these feelings and how they should go and drive what's going to happen next. You know what I mean? So, well, that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast, again, with me, Sabrina. I hope you enjoy. Please check the show notes below for signing up for the newsletter, purchasing Emotions Everyday Journal, submitting anonymous topics, checking out my TikTok and my Instagram, all of these things. But I appreciate every single one of you for listening, downloading, and sharing the show. And until next time, have a good one, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.